Hello and welcome to this week's energy forecast, where in this session we'll have a little look at the astrological energy of this week, the energy of the moon cycle, and also the energy of the season, and how these energies all layer on top of each other to create our experience of the week, how we can work with those energies, and also some tools that will be included for people who are members as well, for practices you can draw on, and also journal prompts to help you be really conscious and intentional with how you're entering into the week and what it is you're working with. So this is a really interesting week, actually. There's a lot of watery energy around. We've got the winter season is represented by the element of water in the Chinese medicine wheel. We have the full moon in Cancer. And we also have Venus making a few really significant transits over in Pisces as well. So there's a lot of emotionality happening this week. That can be heightened emotion, that can just be emotional themes coming to the surface. And even though there's, and also I feel like full moons anyway, like moons are very, like moon cycles are very representative of water. So having that full moon in a water sign as well just really emphasizes those themes. And then this full moon particularly that's coming up today, is supercharged by Mars. So even though there's a lot of water, there's also some heat and intensity that's coming with this week. And I guess like bigness is really the word I would use to describe it. So there could be a theme of, with Mars being co-present, Mars heats things up, Mars brings more energy. Full moons are heightened peaks of cycles anyway, so they're bringing an intensity. Mars is at its now halfway point of its retrograde cycle, so that's another peak happening this week. So there's a lot of this can bring some heat, it can bring some irritation, so a connection. Even though there's a lot of watery energy present this week, I actually feel like really intentionally connecting with that water energy in a way that it's cooling, nourishing, and then also the earth element in terms of grounding and staying strong and steady through some bigger energies could be really, really, really beneficial. A really beneficial way to move through the next week. So as I mentioned, Mars is at the peak of its retrograde cycle, and we'll break this down a little bit more as we move through the today's session. But with this is a great time to really notice and pay attention of what this retrograde has been bringing up for you, because full moons shine a light, and the full moon is now co-present with Mars in Cancer, only like 7 degrees away. So it's a wide conjunction, but it is a conjunction. So with this comes a potential for clarity, right? So we've got the full moon. We've got the full moon bringing the extra light. We've got Mars at midway point of its retrograde cycle now. So this began on the 6th of December. And once we get midway through a retrograde, we kind of start to become aware of what the retrograde is actually about. And I often say with astrology, yes, it's important to know what's coming up so you have some sort of preparation. But astrology, I find, is most useful in hindsight. So when you can see how something has played out, then you understand how it's going to play out again moving forward, or what themes that might bring up. So because we're halfway, we can now look back over the last month or so and reflect on, okay, what has this brought up for me? So again, really helpful to check where this Mars retrograde is falling in your chart. This full moon in Cancer, which is happening today, but it's going to affect us for a few days after, that's really going to heighten it and bring things to a head. And also interestingly, we've got we also have a trine from Uranus to the sun in this configuration as well, on the same day as the full moon. So there is also potential for like sudden realizations, surprises, and that can also kind of earthquake us and give us some clarity as well. But we've got some really nice reflective journal prompts that are coming up this week within this package for those of you who are members, going into a bit more of the themes that we explored in the new moon coaching call last week. So under the full moon, this is an absolutely fantastic time to really pay attention to what's happening, what's present in your life, and also start to apply some of those themes that we spoke around on languaging and how that helps and how that impacts you. This is a really beneficial week to work with those prompts. And then just to note, I guess, before we dive into the meat of the session, that this full moon does contrast where we are in the season. So the winter season is essentially like a new moon. So, and the full moon is associated with the summer season. So when we have a full moon in winter, they are polarizing energies, because we've got the very, very quiet, still, nourishing energy of winter, of the new moon phase, where you plant seeds, and then you have the full moon, which is very much like the summer. It's vibrant, it's loud, it's out there, it brings intensity, it brings energy. So there may be a little bit of a push-pull this week with kind of wanting to be a bit more vibrant and out there, but also really needing that rest. So again, you know you better than anyone. Pay attention to how you're feeling. I feel like with this intensity, what I would probably suggest this week is to try and cool and soothe. However, if you're feeling energized, if you're enjoying the heightened energy and you're ready to go, you know, please pay attention to how you're feeling. But this is very loud energy in comparison to the energy of the season, and we still need to nourish and replenish and be still and quiet as much as we need to be out there with the more polarizing full moon energy. So, you know, even if you are feeling energized and ready to go, just pay attention to that need to still really take care of yourself, and it will pay dividends. Okay, so let's dive into the astrology of the week. So as I have just been talking about, we have a full moon in Cancer today on Monday, the 13th of January at 23 degrees of Cancer. This is in a wide conjunction to Mars retrograde, which is at 27 degrees. So they are 4 degrees apart, actually, so less than I said before. So this really blends, like full moons bring, and especially in a water sign like Cancer, brings heightened emotion. It brings emotional intensity. It can shine a light on what's not working. So particularly in the Cancer areas of your chart, but Cancer is, it's not direct, right? It kind of skirts around the edges of things, like the crab that kind of scuttles off to the side. So when we have full moons in these signs, it can bring clarity, and it can also bring an opportunity for us to see maybe where we're not really being direct where we need to be. With Mars being co-present there, that's going to heighten that theme as well. So the Mars retrograde themes are going to be a lot clearer now, and this full moon is going to shine a light. So definitely pay attention to this area in the chart and pay attention to what is present in your life now. If there are heightened emotions, or if there are themes of irritation coming up, where is that happening? What is actually happening, and what's the bigger picture around this? What needs resolving? So, you know, again, astrological transits, they're never happening to us, they're happening for us. There's opportunity in all of these things, and everything happens for a reason and a purpose. So when these themes are coming up, this is now an opportunity for us to excavate, to clear out, to create change, and the energy is supporting us in doing that. Mars is moving backwards, so we can review, understand, start to address things, and then when it moves forwards, it's going to help us move forwards and move on, right? So that you are being encouraged to take responsibility. So pay attention to what's present, because that's what you're being asked to take responsibility for, and to create change if it's needed. And again, as I mentioned before, so the sun in Capricorn is also trining Uranus in Taurus. So the sun and the moon create the full moon, and then the trine to Uranus in Taurus could contribute to this as well. So this can be sudden breakthroughs and realizations. It's an excellent time to embrace fresh ideas, be open to surprises. And if you are feeling a bit rocky and unsteady, and something kind of comes in a bit left field, it's probably happening for you, because this is in a really positive aspect. So pay attention. And if something this might be a time of sudden realizations, sudden bits of clarity with the extra light. There's a lot supporting that at this time. Okay, so on Tuesday, the 14th of January, we have Venus in Pisces squaring Jupiter in Gemini. So generally, squares are seen as a little bit of more challenging and a little bit more tense aspects, with these being in the great benefics and also Venus being exalted in Pisces, maybe not so much. This aspect may highlight themes of indulgence. It could be unrealistic expectations, especially around love and finances, because it's that square. So like understanding things, love and finances, because it's Venus. And then it's important to basically be aware at this time, because it can bring overindulgence. It can bring kind of like a looking at the world through rose-tinted glasses. So maintaining balance and having a grounded approach is important. And bringing a touch of realism to the dreamy Venus and Pisces, pleasure-focused, sweetness that this transit could bring. It can be really, really enjoyable though. Again, this is a square with both benefics. It can bring sweetness, it can bring a sense of expansion, it can bring the opportunity to indulge. But I guess it's just being aware that you could go too far. The same with dreaminess, like, you know, try to ground yourself. And if you do, then this transit can actually have a really nice, sweet, beneficial effect on the few days either side of this transit. So then on Thursday, the 16th of January, the Sun in Capricorn will oppose retrograde Mars in Cancer. So the Sun is your ego, it's how you shine in the world. Capricorn energy is ambitious, it's responsibility, it's long-term planning, right? Mars is the planet of how you take action. When it's retrograde in Cancer, it's a bit more internal, it's quite focused on your emotional landscape. And this might create a bit of tension. You've got like clear-headed Sun, like who you are, your goals, your ambitions, and then you've got Mars, how you take action. So like what you want and how you take action, not necessarily lining up, right? Or it could be impacting your life in that way, not necessarily you, but the areas of life this is falling in. So for example, if this is happening, this opposition is happening in your 10th house of career and 4th house of home, though you have career ambitions, actually your emotional world and what you need to focus on right now is maybe being pulled in another direction with that Mars retrograde in Cancer, right? So it can bring slightly polarizing themes into your life. It might create tension, and that's okay, right? It's, I guess, when we have oppositions, it's almost inviting, it creates tension, but we're invited to learn how to strike a balance between the two. So there's real potential there. If you are noticing that there is tension in those areas, there's an opportunity there for you. So it's not about resisting it, it's about noticing and then understanding what that transit and what that tension is trying to teach you. Tension is always supportive of growth. And also patience is key. Mars is still retrograde, and conflicts can arise if the energy isn't channeled constructively, right? So patience is absolutely key. If you are feeling triggered, if you're feeling irritated, try to remove yourself from the situation, calm down so you can see things objectively before you enter into conflict, because Mars is heating things up, and with that coming off the back of that full moon, that intensity is going to be there even more. And then on the 19th of January, Venus is going to be conjunct Saturn in Pisces. So this conjunction emphasizes commitment, responsibility, and structure in relationships. So Venus is the planet of relationship. The Saturn is the planet of boundaries, of commitment, of taking responsibility. So it's a good time to solidify bonds, make serious decisions, because Saturn brings that seriousness, so making serious decisions in love or creative projects. In Pisces, it can bring up themes of emotional connection in relationships as well. So it could encourage you to learn how to have healthy boundaries in relationships. Saturn is the planet of boundaries because it has those rings which set its boundaries. So this coming together, being in the very, very emotional sign of Pisces, can get you to kind of bring a sense of realism, and almost create like concrete form and structure around like emotional things in relationships. So it's a really, really great time to set some clear boundaries if you need to do that. This is going to be very, very supportive for that. And then one final thing to touch on for this week, the Sun is going to be entering Aquarius a little bit earlier this year on the 19th of January. So when the Sun moves into a new sign, that's what creates Aquarius season, Scorpio season, Capricorn season. So we started Capricorn season around the 20th of December, and we're now wrapping it up. So this is the last week of Capricorn energy, that go-getter, ambitious energy that wants you to push forward, plan for the long term, into taking more concrete actions, into an air sign, which is a lot more focused on innovation. Aquarius is like, often the saying that's used for Aquarian energy is loves humanity, hates humans, which I just think is really funny because it's that like bird's eye view of life. It's that humanitarian efforts, because they care about the collective and the bigger picture. It's a lot less zoomed in. Capricorn is also bigger picture in a way, but it is about the concrete steps we take to get there. Aquarius is very zoomed out. It's about innovation. It's about big ideas. It's about science. It's about the future. Okay, so Saturn can be, Capricorn can be very focused on the past. Aquarius is about the future. So we're kind of in a bit of a transition. Also, we newly have Pluto in Aquarius as well. So when the sun moves into Aquarius, it's going to be conjunct Pluto, which is going to activate that. So this is almost like, it's almost like Capricorn was kind of Capricorn season was easing us into 2025. When the sun moves into Aquarius, that really feels to me like the kickstart that begins the year, because this is a big year. We've got all of the 8 outer planets changing signs this year, which is very, very rare. This is actually, I think I've heard a lot of astrologers say this is the biggest year of the century. So it is significant. It's not just astrologers saying that everything is significant. This is very, very significant. And this shift, the shift in tone that's happening on Sunday, I think is going to be the precursor, and it's really going to kick things off. So definitely one to just feel into and pay attention to. Again, nothing to be scared of. There's just going to be some change, a lot of it. But this will start to give us an idea of what this next phase is going to be all about. So we've kind of gone for a much more grounded, like focused, structured Capricorn season that's eased us in, and things are going to get a lot lighter and more futuristic and more focused on how we're going to move forward as we move into the next week. So quite an interesting shift in tone. Really pay attention to how you receive it, how it feels, and what themes it brings up in your life as well. So in terms of the astrology, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to cover. In terms of the practices for this week, for those of you who are on the membership, I've really put a focus on the recommended practices around it, getting very still and just contrasting this very big energy that we have this week with the full moon and Mars and all of those bits. So a really, really nice stillness meditation that we released last week, which is focused on connecting with that deep, quiet energy of the winter. It can be an absolutely brilliant one for getting clarity on something, really listening to the whispers, especially if you're unsure of your direction in life. Maybe I know a lot of traditions don't encourage like yoga practices and things like that on full moons, because energy is extremely heightened. So this is going to be a great meditation just to support as things are heating up, just to cool and quiet things down a little bit. I've also recommended on there an EFT tapping session for irritation as well, because Mars brings heat. It also brings a lot of potential for irritation. That might not be the emotion you're experiencing, but if you look in the emotions to embody or transmute library, there's like a huge amount of practices focused on different emotions. So if you're not irritated, but maybe you're angry or frustrated, or you are struggling a little bit with feeling low mood, whatever, like there's so many practices on there to support how you're feeling. But again, because there's so much water energy around this week, pay attention to how you're feeling, pay attention to the emotions that are present, because you may need to address them a little bit more than you would normally, because things are quite heightened. And then I've also popped in there for this week as a recommended practice, the water element flow. So there's a really, really lovely yoga session focused on the water element that's associated with the winter season in the Chinese medicine model. So that's just really going to help you to keep things cool, keep things flowing, keep a bit of balance with the excess heat and excess energy that's around this week. It is designed to deeply nourish your body and energy system, because it works with those kidney and bladder meridians, which are the deepest meridians in your body associated with the winter season. It's a really, really beautiful flowing practice. So really encourage you to dip into that. It's a little bit of a longer one, 42 minutes, opposed to the other ones, which are like, that I've recommended this week, which are about 10 to 15 minutes. But I'd really encourage you to just play around with that, create some time for yourself, particularly a couple of days after the full moon. If you are feeling that intensity, it will really help you to just bring things down a little bit, and also just keep that connection to the winter season, even though there are going to be a lot louder energies that are happening this week. And I think that's pretty much everything. Again, you know, I'd like to sign off a lot of the time with just saying that you are your own authority. So though I've explained what the potentials of these energies are, we're all different. We all have our own birth charts. All of these energy work with us in a very, very unique way. Pay attention to how you receive the energy, because that is how you need to work with. Sorry, my dog walker's just come in. Brilliant. So I think that's everything from me this week. I am still offering 20% off readings up until the end of January. So I'll leave that code below, and I'll see you all in the next reading for next week. Lots of love. Bye bye.